How's it going, everybody? Welcome to this GameXplain discussion. I'm joined by Tris, and today we're talking about Sonic the Hedgehog 3. That's right, not Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Sonic the Hedgehog 3. We're going to talk about the possibilities where this third movie entry could go, because we just got a major cliffhanger at the end of Sonic the Hedgehog 2. So spoilers, if you haven't seen the movie yet, and if you haven't seen the thumbnail for this video yet, because we're talking spoilers like crazy in this. But let's get right into it. The movie ends. There's a mid-credit scene, and if you hear the line, the two gun people from the soldiers, pretty much, they're discussing how we found something, sir, a file buried in our records. Oh, and then when you hear over 50 years old, I'm like, you know exactly who they're talking about. Because I love how in the games, when they talk about Shadow, they always talk about, it was 50 years ago, 50 years ago, 50 years ago. And I'm like, yes, I understand it now. It's 50 years ago. But then it is revealed Shadow the Hedgehog is gonna be in Sonic the Hedgehog 3. That's just insane.
The 1970s must have been crazy if they had Shadows.
Right? Oh my goodness. So I remember playing Shadow the Hedgehog in 2005, and I was like, 50 years ago, 1955. My goodness, they had all kinds of crazy technology, and now it's the 70s. 50 years ago was the 70s, and it's just like, oh goodness. It's nuts to think that they're going from Knuckles and Tails right to Shadow, like no other Sonic characters in between.
Yeah, that's really not what I expected them to do, honestly. I mean, I knew there was some sort of mid-credit scene. I mean, it would be surprising if there wasn't, considering the first movie had one. But I really didn't expect them to go into Shadow next. And it rings true to the interviews they were talking about, how they don't have to tell these stories in the game order because they're doing their own thing here. And they could tell it the way they want to, but just because they skip something doesn't mean it can't come back later. And I think doing Shadow next, this actually makes a lot of sense with this ambiguity as to what's going on with Robotnik, where he is now, and also now that things are good with Tails and Knuckles, where do you go from there? You go to, in my opinion, it was gonna be either Metal Sonic for Sonic CD or somehow Shadow, and they're doing the somehow Shadow.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I remember hearing people talk about how the mid-credit scene just made them go nuts, right? So I was thinking, okay, it's either Metal Sonic or it's Shadow. And then I had to think about it more. I'm like, nobody likes Metal Sonic that much. I'm sorry. like Metal Sonic is cool, but he's not as cool as Shadow. People love Shadow a little too much because, you know, I remember Shadow the Hedgehog, guns, lots of guns. What if he gets guns in Sonic the Hedgehog 3? We'll talk more about that later. But I was hoping like it was going to be Shadow. And then when they said 50 years ago, there was a bunch of kids in the theater, and I was just like, oh F, this S is awesome. It was same when Supersonic showed up. I was like, oh, they're doing it. They're really doing it. So
that was cool. And
with the introduction of Gun and the Chaos Emeralds, especially Gun, it makes sense that they're kind of going towards Shadow. But let's talk about, first I want to talk about who's going to play Shadow in this movie. Who's going to voice Shadow? Tris, who do you think it's going to be?
You know,
please say who I think you're going to say.
I have seen so many people say Keanu Reeves.
Yes, it has to. There is no other person that can play Shadow. If they're going to cast a celebrity, at least, because I don't think they'll bring the game actor into this, it's got to be Keanu Reeves. You can't do anyone else. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There's this really good animation I found on Twitter. I'll put it in this video right here. I forget the person who made it, but I'll credit them as well. They animate Shadow saying lines from Keanu Reeves movies. It's just too perfect. It's too perfect.
How you holding up? I keep asking why her.
Hey, where is he?
They know you're coming.
Of course. But it won't matter.
And it would also kind of be funny because in the first Sonic movie, Sonic is watching Speed and he's just like, Keanu, he's a national treasure. And I'm like, you know, maybe that would be a conflict of interest of having Keanu play him, but no, that would just make him play Shadow. Don't even have Sonic make a joke about how he sounds like Keanu Reeves. Just let it happen. It's perfect.
I mean, we know Sonic's very overly aware of movie stars. I mean, he talked about The Rock in this movie.
Yes.
So, like, if he was gonna make some sort of comment about voices, he would have been like, Knuckles, why do you sound like Idris Elba?
Yeah.
But thankfully he didn't, and I don't think they'll do something like that. So it would just be a fun nod if they, he referenced Keanu Reeves in the first movie. It would be fun if he played him, but I can't think of anybody else unless they for some reason decide to pull in Chris Pratt to play that. Oh
man, no thank you. Or they could do what they did for Sonic. What was it? When Jason Griffith played Sonic and Shadow, he sounded completely different both times. If you told me, I was surprised when I found out he played both Sonic and Shadow, because total opposite voices. Maybe they could have Ben Schwartz do something dark, but no, they need it. I can't. It has to be Keanu. I'm sorry.
A lot of movies, especially for like bigger movies like this, it's really hard for the actors to play the multiple main characters like that. What comes to mind is there was that recent movie, I think, where like Will Smith had to fight a younger version of himself. Yeah, those are like really hard to do, I think. And sure, this would all be CG, but that's like monologuing and having conversations with yourself. I feel like the banter wouldn't go well.
No, I can't picture Ben Schwartz doing like a deeper voice, and like I wouldn't be able to take that seriously one bit. Especially since he did the fake Batman voice in Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
That's true.
Yeah, so Keanu Reeves for Shadow, make it happen. And I feel like Keanu Reeves would be so down to do it, because he doesn't really say no to roles very much. He played a tumbleweed in the SpongeBob movie. Like, come on. It would make so much sense.
That is true.
I've heard some people say maybe Jason Statham, and I'm like, that's random, but okay. I mean, they gave Knuckles kind of a British accent with Idris Elba, but I'm too fixated on Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
I heard someone say Timothée Chalamet, and I'm like, gross, get out of here with that. But yes,
if there's any character I could see getting the in-game voice, and it's not even Shadow, there's only 2 characters that they could ever bring in from Sonic that I could see keeping the game voices, other than Tails, and I'm so glad they did that. And it would be if they brought in, if they made like some sort of Eggman version or Eggman robot, I can see Eggman's actual voice actor, Mike Pollock, do that voice. Or, well, I was gonna say if they ever brought in Big the Cat,
yes,
you can have the actual Big the Cat voice actor voice him just for like one-off lines, because he wouldn't be saying a lot.
Exactly. That could totally happen.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you for watching this discussion. I quit. My final video here on GameXplain, everybody. But yeah, I can't picture them bringing in Kirk Thornton, the current voice of Shadow, to be Shadow in this. And for one, I'm not a huge fan of his portrayal of Shadow the Hedgehog, but that's a completely different story for another time. Now, plot-wise, I'm expecting them to do a variation of Sonic Adventure 2, not exactly the story dead on, like beat for beat. I expect them fully. At least the movie's going to start. I guess Robotnik has to be the one to break out Shadow. They could probably shake that up and make him.
They might use Agent Stone.
Yeah, Agent Stone. They teased him in the mid-credits scene too. Like, we don't know what happened to Robotnik. Maybe Jim Carrey does really retire, and now Agent Stone's like the one in charge. It'd be strange, but people love Agent Stone.
I do think they purposely kept it open because they don't know if Jim Carrey will be retired by that point or not. So they kept it open for them depending on how they want to do it. Because you can't tease Robotnik still being alive and then not have him come back in any way, shape, or form. So
exactly.
This way, it's open for how they are able to handle it based on his availability.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's how he's going to break out remains to be seen. It would if Jim Carrey's coming back, it's definitely going to be Robotnik, right? But we'll see how that goes. And then Shadow's going to be out doing evil stuff, and people are going to think it's Sonic. And then now Sonic's on the run. We're definitely going to have that storyline. Where they go from there, no idea.
So I actually feel like we might see a combination of both Adventure games here to some degree. Not quite Adventure 1 with Amy and Big and all the characters having their own plot lines with the Chaos Emeralds, because I don't see a way to bring in those characters unless you actually start going out and about space. But I do think we'll see some level of repercussions for the Master Emerald being destroyed, and the presence of the Chaos Emeralds somewhere in the universe for a combination of Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. And rather than fighting the Bio Lizard, we'll have... because you can't introduce Shadow and not do Super Shadow and Super Sonic. Yeah. So we'll probably see some threat for them to fight together, which I think doing Chaos would actually work. Because Shadow is...
Yeah.
I mean, Shadow is a villain, but he's also like an anti-hero. He's never like definitively, exclusively villain.
He always winds up being the hero at the end.
Yeah, I can't... It's going to be like Knuckles in this movie, in 2. I can't see Shadow being the villain all the way through for this movie. So what do you make the villain then? Obviously, you could just bring back Robotnik or make it something tied to Robotnik. But I kind of think, now that we have Gun, and they've made their presence known, they can't go back into hiding again, there's a lot they can do there, and I think making a combination of 1 and 2 might be the best option there.
Or they could just go full-on Shadow the Hedgehog, bring in Black Doom, get the director of John Wick, and then we'll just do guns a-blazing here and there. But, that reminds me. So, Games Cage on Twitter pointed this out. The director of the movie, of Sonic the Hedgehog 1 and 2, Jeff Fowler, and the producers of both movies, Tim Miller, who also directed Deadpool, the first one, and the new Terminator movie, Dark Fate. They worked on the cinematics for Shadow the Hedgehog. Like, that blew my mind when I heard that, but it also makes sense because they're a part of Blur Studio, and Blur Studio works on a ton of stuff for video games. If there's a CGI trailer or like a really well-made CGI pre-rendered cutscene for a game, 90% chance Blur Studio worked on it. So they've had experience with games, so it kind of makes sense that they worked on Sonic the Hedgehog, Jeff Fowler especially. He wasn't like a director or anything in the Shadow the Hedgehog stuff. I think he was an animator. I'm not exactly sure. Jeff, I know you're watching this. Please clarify it for us.
So what you're saying is we were always heading here. We were always going to get Shadow, so it comes full circle for them.
Exactly. It all comes full circle beautifully. But yes, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, it's very interesting going straight from like... I guess Sonic the Hedgehog 2 was kind of like a mix of Sonic the Hedgehog 2 the game, and 3 the game, and even Sonic and Knuckles. And then it's just like straight to the adventure games. Like you said, it might be a combination of 1 and 2. I kind of see that happening as well. And you did mention earlier, like, you don't see how they could bring in other characters. Do you think we could potentially see, like, Amy Rose come into play? I mean, I would have to think about that, too, because I feel like she'd have to play an important part in the story, other than... I'm gonna thirst after Sonic, and he's gonna not reciprocate his feelings for me.
If they ever bring Amy in, it would have to be more like how she's represented in the more recent games, where she's more like a close friend to Sonic. So basically, the role that Tails played in this movie.
Yeah.
Which is exactly why in 2 rather, which is exactly why I don't actually see them bringing in Amy for a while. There is one character, like an actual, like, furry Sonic character that's not a robot that I can see them bringing in, and it's Rouge.
Yeah, that's right.
Sonic sent the Chaos Emeralds God knows where. They may not even be on Earth. They could be anywhere across the universe. I can see Rouge being the one to track them down, and then one, or at least one, happens to be on Earth. That brings her to Earth, gets her involved in the problems, and then she's the one that starts working with Shadow, becomes an enemy to Knuckles in that case, and not even I'm definitely working with Shadow because I like him or I'm good friends with him, but like enemy, my enemy's my friend kind of thing. Sonic and Knuckles keep stopping me from getting these emeralds. Well, you know what? If you keep finding him, I'm gonna work with him.
Can you picture Rouge the Bat in this movie, like her character model?
I don't even know how they'll do it.
I don't know either. That's just weird, freaky stuff I don't want to think about.
Design-wise, I don't know. But in terms of the role her character plays, I actually think... I mean, she played a big part in Sonic Adventure 2.
She did.
Which is why I do think they could, if they're going the introduction to Shadow route, it would make sense to introduce her in this case.
Yeah. Who would play her? Margot Robbie? Florence Pugh? The list goes on. Zoe Kravitz?
Yeah, that one.
Aquafina?
Please no for Aquafina. That would not fit at all.
I don't know. I mean, maybe they could bring her game voice. I don't even know who plays her in the games anymore. I don't even remember.
It's not even consistent.
Not.
I think Rouge is one of the characters that kept having her voice changed over the last couple decades.
It's like in the first game she sounded like Rouge the Bat, whatever that sounds like. But then like when Sonic X and then they changed the voice actor, all of a sudden she sounded like older and like she smoked. I don't know. It's weird stuff. Maybe they won't. Maybe it'll just be Shadow in this movie. The theories continue. It's so much, but I'm really excited for this movie now. Like, I really want it now more than ever.
Here's a fun question. Do you think the Knuckles TV show will happen before the movie? And will it have key details for the movie?
I think it might happen before the movie. It's weird. I don't even know what kind of direction they're going with that show, because CGI is very expensive, and it takes a long time. So who knows? Maybe they might do the movie first. I'm not sure. I feel like if they go in the direction of show first, then movie, I don't know if the show is going to have a lot of hints towards the movie. If they do it after the movie...
The most I would see, if it happens before the movie, it would be to introduce characters that are going to be in the movie, so they can save screen time not having to introduce them in the movie. But
very true.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff. I think they're definitely going to save Shadow from the movie. They're not going to introduce him in the Knuckles show. I just hope the Knuckles show is better than the Halo show. That's for sure. Paramount Plus. Yeah, man, the show's tragic, but that's a story for another time. All right, but I have a very important question. Will we hear Live and Learn by Crush 40?
Oh, God, I hope so.
I want it, but after watching Sonic the Hedgehog 2, I have very little faith. Because there were so many instances in Sonic the Hedgehog 2 where they could have used, like, music from the games. Not even, like Sonic Adventure music. We're talking, like, music from the classic games. And they didn't do that. And it was just kind of, like, wasted potential right there.
I did hear apparently the drowning theme was playing when Sonic was drowning.
It was super subtle,
which is
from what I tried to hear it and I couldn't, but I believe it was like more subtle. But for Sonic the Hedgehog 3, they just need to go full on fan service at this point. Like yeah, maybe include some human stuff for the parents, maybe not as much as it did in Sonic 2 with all the wedding stuff. Although I did find the wedding stuff kind of enjoyable in its own weird way. It was. It's like, oh, okay, we got a side story with the wedding. Okay.
I think the only reason why that bothered me was because after they made up in the end of that scene, they never came back again.
Exactly.
Like they weren't even in like the ending scenes. Like at least if they had some sort of resolution there or hint that maybe they'll appear, or heck, have them adopt Knuckles. I don't know. Does Tom and his wife really need 3 kids right away?
No, they don't. My goodness.
But no, but yeah, the wedding side plot was weird, honestly. But I did just have an interesting idea for how they could feature Crush 40.
How?
And it's one of the, let's say, like fight scenes or some scene. They're at a concert, and the concert happens to be Crush 40, and they're playing one of the songs. Like rather than just playing it over what's happening in the scene, like fun background thing, they're battling, I don't know, somewhere in like Nevada, and it's near like a big like outdoor like band festival, and they happens to be there playing.
So it's like the end of
so
you're saying it's like the end of Turning Red. Have you seen that movie?
Sure, yeah. Without destroying the concert venue. Sure.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Man, I would cry if I heard. At least just put it in the trailer. It doesn't even need to be in the movie. Just put it in the trailer. The minute I hear that that iconic start of that song, I'm just gonna be like, best trailer reaction right there. Oh man, it's just I want Sonic the Hedgehog 3 now, but as long as Keanu Reeves voices Shadow and the story is good enough, I will be fine.
Yep.
Yeah, but any final thoughts on Sonic 3 before we head out, Chris?
I guess my main question is, do you think, so since Knuckles is getting his own TV show and will probably continue to be a major character in this, and we know we're getting Shadow, do you think Tails is going to keep sticking around as a major companion to Sonic, or is he going to get even more of a back burner compared to near the second half of 2, where he was more so took a backseat? Like, do you think they'll keep Tails front and center still?
I think they'll still keep Tails front and center, but it's kind of par for the course, actually. When is Tails ever really a part of the big final battle? Especially in the Sonic Adventure games, it's usually just Super Sonic or Super Sonic and Super Shadow. Sonic Heroes kind of got a little help there, but Tails will be there. Tails will always be there.
Yeah. And the other question that I have is, and we slightly touched upon it earlier, but do you see Agent Stone getting a bigger role in the next movie? Since we know his fate, we know he's still there, but Eggman's the big question still.
Probably. I don't think he's going to have a bigger presence. It'll be just as big as it was in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, where he was a side character, but he was also kind of an important side character. I mean, who else is going to run the Robotnik boutique?
Yeah, the Mean Bean Machine's kind of gone now, isn't it?
Exactly. And I really hope Eggman gets fat for some reason. As the movies go on, he just looks more and more like the games. I know Jim Carrey wants fat Robotnik, so maybe that'll be the one thing to keep him from retiring, is if he's allowed to put on weight for the role. Or they could just recast him with Christian Bale, and Christian Bale will just gain all the weight he needs in order to play the part. Have you seen that movie about Dick Cheney? He can do it.
I have not, but you could just put him in a fat suit like Thor in Avengers Endgame.
Oh, jeez, that's true. That's very true. All right, but thank you all so much for watching this discussion here on GameXplain. Tell us, are you excited for Sonic the Hedgehog 3? And let us know why Keanu Reeves needs to play Shadow in the comments below. But until next time, everyone, bye.